You know, if you take everything I've accomplished in my entire life and condense it down into one day, it looks decent.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on The Decent Show, live without a webcam, and today we're going to be discussing The Boys. And it's Reagan and Ryan, as always. And Reagan, what's happening?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's good. It's really beautiful to be here.
Well, yeah, that's a hot take. And so today we're going to be, again, talking about the Amazon original show, my first Amazon original show to ever watch. Okay, good. So both of our cherries have been popped by The Boys. And I guess we're just going to do the usual here. I guess maybe kind of dive into general thoughts.
Spoilers.
And a lot of spoilers. So this show, I had never heard of, ever. I think maybe I'd seen the cover of it and didn't really realize what it was. Had a friend that was forced to watch it by another friend, and they watched it all in a day and loved it. Told me to check it out, first episode. As soon as I saw the first episode, I hit you up. I was like, "What's happening? Have you heard of this show? Have you seen it?" You're like, "Nah, I've wanted to. Let's do it."
Yeah, I heard of it. I heard about it, but it was like, I mean, it's got a terrible name.
Yeah,
and honestly,
kind of
like,
does. Yeah,
I never heard of anything really about it, honestly, which was good. But I was also like, man, it's an Amazon Prime show, which I don't have Amazon Prime, so I was like, well, I'm really not interested in this thing.
Okay. So, we've seen all 8 episodes. We watched all 8 together, spread out over time.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of your general thoughts of the show? Because, I mean, really, from the vibes you're giving me, I feel like you don't love it as much as I thought you would. I figured you would be way more all in on this show, and I would be kind of just like, yeah, but I feel more all in on it than you are. But I could be wrong. What's your vibes? I'm getting mixed vibes from you. What do you think of the show?
Honestly, the show is a mixed vibe.
Okay.
Honestly, like, I feel like the way we consumed it was wrong.
Why is that?
I feel like we should have just done 2 days and knocked out 4 each day. If we had enough time to where it didn't take up the whole night.
Right. I mean,
I'm not saying like. Granted on what...
Because that's 4 hours at a time.
Exactly, yeah. Granted on our situation, the way we're like setting things up and everything, we really couldn't do it any faster. But I think like ideally you want to watch the show 2 nights, 3 nights maybe.
Okay.
Just in a row or as close together as possible. Because I just feel like it felt slower the way we were watching it. Like it just felt like things weren't developing super fast.
Okay.
I don't know, just some like minor stuff. Like just for me personally, whenever, because it's a superhero show and there's like some amazing scenes in it where like people are just destroying things and there's just CGI looks fantastic or whatever.
Right.
It always sticks out to me when I'm like, okay, it's time for them to save some money, because they're like, they spend large-ish amounts of time in a room with like no windows, nothing really going on. It's really dirty and it's just cement. You know what I mean? Like every time the boys, the bad guy gang, good guy, whatever you want to call them, was like meeting or something, it was always like a cement dirty room, like in the back of a soup kitchen or a I don't know what the word is, but it was just like, it feels like budget to me whenever they do stuff like that, because it's not very an interesting place to meet. And they did it like 5 or 6 times because they save Kamiko and she's there and they spend some time with her there. They have their original hideout, then they have a second hideout, then they have a third hideout. And they all look exactly the same.
The van is really bland on the inside.
They're in the van the whole time. They they have to go to like Pop Claw's. I mean, I guess Pop Claw's like apartment is a little bit different, but I mean, like for the most part, like I can tell. Like I'm like, okay, like when they spent that almost whole episode just in there talking translucent, I'm like, this is where they saved the money.
Okay.
Because all they needed was the actors and invisibility effect, which is admittedly pretty easy to do.
Right. See, that is fascinating. I realized the settings that they were in, but I never put it together like that. I never thought... So I guess in that regard, what they were doing to save money worked for me, did not work for you, because I didn't even think of that, but you're absolutely right, because, yeah, there's nothing happening. Granted, luckily the story is strong enough, I guess, to get past those scenes, but yeah, you're right, I didn't even... think of that. It's a beautiful thought. I don't know, dude. I never thought of that. The fact that there's a lot of bland settings that kind of counteract all the extravagance they have kind of sprinkled throughout. Because to be honest with you, when there is superhero
stuff
or
like that.
powers and violence and gore. It is very epic, but it's not necessarily super common. They don't use it a lot. Like it's not necessarily few and far between, but it's not like super common either. There wasn't a ton of superhero violence in the show.
They don't, and it's just weird. Like, it's just a weird thing they do because they have like the A-Train race, which has like almost no purpose. But
Yeah.
it's such a like it's the football field. It's like this huge scene or whatever, and it's like wow. And the Vaughn office and like the 7 headquarters, massive, looks incredible. Just like stuff like that where they do these huge scenes and then they come back and it's just always this really like dark and gritty, bland place they go to. I don't know. It's just like stuff like that always bothers me because I don't really dig movies that take place in one location.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I get a vibe of that, I'm like, oh man, no, let's not do this. Because some TV shows do that. I feel like Daredevil on Netflix and The Punisher both had like huge problems with that in my opinion because they would spend a lot of time just building up and like developing characters and plot, which is fine, but they would do it in such like grand portions where it would be, okay, we got the bad guy, we're gonna hold him hostage for like 3 episodes, and you're just gonna watch them talk back and forth.
Yeah.
But I think they did a better job of this. Honestly, the show is all over the place. There's things I don't even know if I really hated that much, but there's things I really just not a huge fan of. Other things I loved, but it was just weird. I mean, like the whole plane thing was like amazing. There's another huge like set piece thing.
Right.
That was amazing. That was awesome. Like all the way around. Like they saved the day. They don't do it in a really great way, obviously, and then they immediately are just like, well, we got to leave everyone here because there's no way we can save everyone.
Right.
And I just thought that was wild.
I thought it was wild too. It's definitely a lane that hasn't, to me, been explored in superhero lore. Like it's very
When they don't save the day.
right.
What they
And
can actually do.
Yeah, and like their limitations, and then kind of the lack of remorse from Homelander, and then the great remorse from whatever her name is,
Maeve.
Maeve. Yeah. Like the fact that she just can't, that doesn't sit right with her, and Homelander just kind of like moves on. All of that was pretty epic.
I'm gonna give a shout out. I need to give a shout out to Elizabeth Shue, who plays Miss Stillwell, like the head boss.
Yeah.
Obviously Carl Urban, because
Yeah.
he's the main boy and he's just ridiculous. And then also
Homelander.
Anthony Starr.
That's Homelander?
Yeah, that's Homelander.
Yeah.
I need to give him a shout out because he honestly, all 3 of those people kill it. But like honestly, it's between him and like Carl Urban. Like which one of them is killing it more? Because I've never seen Anthony Starr in anything.
Yeah, never.
I honestly didn't know who that was either. But it was
Right.
like, dude, the dude is killing it.
Yeah.
He's great as both a hero and a villain, and he's super unsettling
And his fakeness is so good.
so good.
And his evilness is so menacing. Like, whatever angle he's playing, he's very convincing at it.
yeah,
And, like, his fake smile is probably one of the best I've ever seen. Like, he can go from looking pissed off to having the biggest smile in the world. And, like, he just does it so smoothly. It's crazy how, like, I don't know how to say it, but how well his face works. Like,
yeah. You get so much out of it.
Yeah.
The only thing I recognize him in is Without a Paddle, and I never saw it.
Never saw it, right. I think I looked up his profile last time we hung out.
That's wild, dude. I can't believe I don't know. It's just he does it so well. I can't believe he's not in more stuff. But like, yeah, dude, he kills it. Carl Urban, like, he also kills it, but he curses like almost at a like knocked up like super bad level. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like he's almost just cussing like every single word.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I kind of like got tired of that at points, but I also found him really funny when he was just he just say ridiculous shit. He would just be like, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we burn it, or he'd just have like little quips like that back and forth, and how like negative he is and how he just wants to kill everyone. And he kills that guy, the guy who tells like what his
Messner or something
like that. He kills that guy
brutally.
Yeah,
which that doesn't
brutally.
come back to bite him. He kills him in like a public bathroom.
and no one found out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of like, there's not a lot, but there's a pretty good amount of like holes in logic where it's like,
Yeah, because fingerprints would have been on that guy.
like why didn't they kill A-Train? They broke his leg and they had him right there, basically powerless. Just
Right.
kill him.
Yeah, I guess the holes in logic, I guess, are coming in to me for the law enforcement. The fact that the four of them are turning in Vought,
Mm-hmm.
and Vought basically is able to get away from the investigation because of super terrorists. But the super terrorists are the biggest coincidence ever, and sure enough, it's not a coincidence. They were planted by what we thought was Vought, turned out to be Homelander, but still. I already lost my train of thought. What were we
Nice.
even talking about?
I mean, you were just talking about.
Oh, the
like,
holes. Okay, so the law enforcement part. So, like, they become, they go from basically turning in the bad guys to becoming the bad guys. So
Instantly.
now they're being tracked by everybody. But then it's like, who's really tracking who here? Because, I mean, Homelander shot a plane out of the sky. They didn't save that other flight. And then, Carl Urban murdered the guy in the bathroom sink. What's her name? Popclaw's death was never really investigated.
Yeah.
Like you said, the attempted assault / murder on A-Train. Like what? I just a lot of that stuff. It's like, okay, well, who's enforcing the laws anymore? Like when these two people are fighting, like who steps in? Do the cops? Are the cops even really relevant in this world of
It
superheroes?
doesn't seem like it. Just seems like they can spin anything out of it. Like whatever they do, Vought just comes in and like,
Well, and I
spins
can
it in a way
see
that's
Vought
positive.
getting away with things, but it's like, how have some of the boys not been? Because right now they're under, or they were under like arrest by what Vought, like Black Ops units, from what we were told.
Yeah.
So not even real police. So it's like, why?
And then they killed those guys, and I guess they're on the lam. Honestly, yeah, we'll get into it later. But yeah, there's a few like holes in logic there. I forgot about him like tearing down that plane just because that guy wasn't gonna sign that bill for them to be in the military.
Right.
It was crazy that one chick who like takes all the different forms and was on top of the guy and basically pretends to be a dude and then takes a
Yeah.
picture of. Oh my
The
god!
blackmail.
Wild, dude, wild.
Yeah, it was. Do you have any more, I guess, negatives or anything else that's kind of bothering you?
Honestly, like my biggest negative, I think, is that, the show. I think the show is really good. I just feel like there needed to be another episode. I feel like we got a little rushed there at the end because I didn't feel like there was any closure or anything there at all with Starlight and Huey.
Yeah.
Like they just kind of like, oh, okay, I'll stay here and resuscitate A-Train basically, and then I'll just leave. And like there was nothing else there.
Right.
Because they had been, together, and then they find out about each other, and then they're mad, and then it seems like they're kind of making up, but nothing is final there. And then it just kind of seemed like a weird place to leave us because we don't know where the boys are going. We don't know what's happening with the FBI. There's a lot of just like empty. Like, I understand you want to build for the next season,
Right.
but it also just feels like a weird way to leave it.
Yeah.
I was thinking that in the last episode. I was like, man, we're not gonna be able to tie up a lot of stuff here, are we? And we didn't, and we got the kind of payoff with Bill or whatever, and his wife who isn't dead, Becca,
And the kid's
and
alive.
the kid's alive,
And the kid has Homelander's powers.
But how and why? You know what I mean? Like, how are they alive? Why are they alive? Why has she never contacted Bill? Like what? Why is that not happening? We got no answers to that. And why did Homelander keep him alive? What does he care? Is he just that messed up in the head that he's like, I kind of want this guy who's like, he almost respects how messed up that guy is in the head.
Right.
Like, he almost likes him. You know what I mean?
I think because he put together that, Billy was betrayed and lied to.
Like him.
And Homelander, as time goes on, keeps realizing how much he's lied to despite being the golden boy. So I guess he respects somebody like Billy or Carl Urban or whatever who's fighting the system maybe and not putting up with the lies and just determined to find the truth, because that's what Homelander's doing. He's determined to, I guess, find the truth. But I mean, we still don't know what's going to happen because he is pretty psychotic. So I mean, he could turn around and kill Billy in front of his son.
Yeah.
And be like, that could have been your daddy, but like, screw that guy. We don't know. But I am interested to know more about how the heck Becca Like, what was her situation? Like, is she under constant surveillance by Vought to where she can't contact Billy or Homelander or anybody for that matter? Like, is it like she's in some kind of witness protection type thing where she basically has a whole new life, new identity, and no contact to her previous life?
Yeah.
We don't know. It's kind of what it seems like because she looks like she's in perfect health. She doesn't seem to have some kind of amnesia or some kind of mind wipe. It looked like she recognized what was happening.
Tough call.
Yeah, you're right, because they could write it to where she like goes.
It didn't appear that way though, but yeah.
Right. It didn't appear that she didn't know who Homelander was and that she didn't know who Carl Urban was.
Yeah.
It looked like she was like, oh shit, like worlds collide.
And the whole terrorist thing, I thought they were gonna have a fight or something, you know.
Yeah, what was Homelander doing? He like took out all those troops and found Compound V conveniently, but didn't have to face the captain, the super terrorist.
That's another thing, dude. I don't know. Like it's so unclear to me if he found that or if he planted that there and then gave it because he says I got something for you, Captain. And does he give it to the captain of that squadron right there, and then that guy gives it to the Secretary of Defense or whatever,
Right.
And then that person goes, well, how do they have this? Well, they're making their own superheroes now and they're all terrorists. So
Right.
And is that the way they spun that, or do they actually know how to are they learning how to make it because A-Train's out there dishing it out to people?
No, I think the story that they're telling the government and all the people that want to bring them down or are questioning them, they're telling them that they're just counterfeiting it or making it on their own. But in reality,
No one is. It's just them.
they could be making it now that they have some, but they were first given some by Homelander and A-Train. I believe that.
Yeah.
It's just Homelander obviously isn't going to tell the army or the world that.
Yeah, because it makes them look good, makes them look necessary, and makes the problem look bigger. Because
No, I mean he's not going to tell them that he's the one spreading Compound B.
of course, yeah.
But yes, the Compound B is convenient for them to get them in the army. But that's the other thing too is like I still don't understand why Homelander is, I guess, so perfect and the other superheroes aren't necessarily as good, even though it seems like they were all created relatively the same. I guess maybe since he was observed in the lab more, he got more special treatment, thus making him greater. But how does he... I mean, because, like, how are they giving them less Compound V, a less good version of Compound V, or are they just giving them the straight up Compound V? Because how do they not know that they're going to create something that they can't defeat? Like, are they doing any kind of...
The terrorists?
Yes.
I think, yeah.
By him creating super terrorists, like, how does he not know? Because he's like, it doesn't really work that well for adults. I can see why Vought does it on children. But what if you find that one adult that
That's
it works
special.
perfect? Yeah. So I wonder if they're doing any kind of, like, ration control on the super terrorist Compound V, or if they're just risking it. And maybe Season 2 is going to have some kind of struggle to where Huey and the boys are still trying to kill Soups, but the Soups actually can't kill the super terrorists.
Dude, it's a weird call, honestly, because I want to say, like, he just thinks he's so above it all that it doesn't even matter, you know? But I could also see, like, he's been trained, and he kind of never had a life. It was all just this. He was able to hone in on it. Or it could just be another compound thing. I don't know. There's just so many questions.
Right.
Honestly, that's just my kind of gripe with it. So I'm like, man, there's so many questions I wish there was answers to. But if we were binging this show, like most people watch shows, I feel like now, I wouldn't really have a problem with that because we just go, all right, Season 2, Episode 1.
Right,
I'll
because,
just-
get the answers. But we're limited by the one season, but I did think it was a pretty good season.
Honestly, yeah.
I was blown... I'm not that I was blown away because I was predicting it as the scene was happening, but I'm still pretty surprised that, Homelander killed Madeline.
Yep.
So that's a pretty big deal. And now her kids, I guess, are orphans because she didn't have a...
Or they died.
Yeah.
Who knows how big that explosion was?
Yeah, that's true. So, because those kids that she had, I forget, how did she have them? Like, did she have a former baby
'cause
daddy or husband?
They make some comment like the woman of your age having a kid, that's truly impressive or something.
Right. But I'm assuming it's not Homelander's kid. So it's like, who's the baby daddy? Who's the husband?
I don't know. It might not matter. They might all be dead.
Right. That's what I mean, though. Do we know that? Is that information that they presented to us?
No, I never got that from anything.
Okay. Just making sure I didn't forget something. So, we don't know obviously we know Madeline's dead, and I guess she didn't have superpowers. I was waiting for that to happen, so I guess
Same.
that didn't. So, and then, well, before I forget, I do want to talk about how weird the sex scenes were throughout this entire show. But,
Yeah,
but
really.
to finish the Madeline point, I just, I don't understand the fact that we're going to see what happens, I guess, with her death, because she was going to get the next promotion. She was, like, the biggest thing at Vought, and she was running Homelander's day-to-day, so now she's dead. I wonder what the story is going to be behind that. What happened to her kids? Are they dead? Did she have a baby daddy or a husband? Yeah. So anyway,
What about you? Any other negatives?
I didn't have, I guess, too many negatives. I guess slow parts, but that's, to me, with any show that's an hour long, I just feel like that's, to me, tough to fill. I feel like shows that were on cable that had 45 minutes and 15 minutes of commercials. Granted, I don't want commercials, but I just feel like it's easier to make episodes like that. You know, filling a full hour sometimes can be tough, but I think it's really well cast. I don't have too many complaints. I thought it was all the complaints we've kind of already talked about. I mean, a lot of it to me was minor. I think my biggest thing was just
Mother's Milk?
Mother's Milk. Yeah, I have a problem with that being somebody's nickname. And then sometimes it's like we can predict what's going to happen, but then I never know where the show's going. In terms of, like, the general story, like, the fact that, I don't know, just, like, from after seeing the first episode, I'd never imagined that this is where we're at. You
Right.
know, I never knew the path that it was taking. I didn't think super terrorists were going to be a thing. Obviously, for the first, like, 3 or 4 episodes, 5 episodes, we had no clue what Compound V was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was only a rumor by episode, like, 3 or 4. Yeah, I just... Like when in a scene we're like, oh, okay, this is gonna happen. You know, they're gonna say this line or do this thing. But in general terms of where the show was going, yeah, I never whenever they first told us Homelander was pure, like whenever Carl Urban was like, you know, Homelander's the cleanest one, basically, I figured it'd stay that way. I never thought Homelander would go to be so bad.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
So, never thought they'd kill a superhero so early, and then they haven't really killed a superhero since.
No.
So it's like,
And I didn't think that one lady was going to die season 1 either.
Stillwell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it was the end of the season, I still didn't think she was going down like that.
Yeah, I figured she'd be a staple for the show. Just because she's, to me, the most, aside from Carl Urban, she's the only other actress I really recognize. I mean, there's been a few others I kind of recognize, but to me, them two are their faces I recognize the most. So I'm surprised to see her go, but I guess sometimes these shows do that. They don't necessarily, especially when they have a pretty decent cast like this, I guess they don't keep paying the big
Yeah, and it's
star.
always shocking, too, because you never see
Right.
it. I just thought of a couple more things. Like, the thing where it all comes down to the same thing. I just feel like I didn't get I don't know. I feel like a lot of things were left loose strings. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, why were we following the Deep? You know, like, why were we still following him? His story didn't really go anywhere. It just seemed
Yeah.
kind of random. I thought it was going to tie back in some way. It seems like he's going to probably be in season 2 doing something. I'm just kind of wondering where they're going with that. I'm also kind of wondering where, and I know it's probably just like, oh, it's all in his head and he's really messed up from the trauma or whatever, but he keeps seeing Robin all the time. And I was waiting for him to have like a superpower or a disorder or, you know, just go insane or lose it or something like that.
Right.
But I guess he really just lost it when he killed Translucent, and then that was it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess on the Deep part of that, I would say I was thinking the same thing. I do feel like his story kind of took a turn for the worse, and that worse being for him and for us as the viewer, because it just progressively got less interesting and confusing. Like, okay, well, what's going to happen with him? Why are we still following him at this point?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree with all of that. I guess maybe it's just to show that, you know, he was hot shit in the first couple episodes. He was the number 2 guy when we first started the show, and now he's literally like not even in the 7 anymore.
And it's messed him up or whatever.
Yeah, from demotion, not from being killed. Yeah, like he's, I guess, been ruined, and maybe it's symbolic because he tried, you know, he basically messed up Starlight, and she, I guess, in return, messed him up. And then I was very confused by his sex scene in Ohio.
Dude, honestly, like, why do they do? I don't know. Why do they do so many sex scenes? You know what I mean? Like, why do they do so many, and why are they always so weird and uncomfortable? And why are they there? You know what I mean? I don't feel like they add that much.
To be different, maybe. I mean, I feel like even though it was weird, I feel like the Madeline, the Stillwell and Homelander sex scene at least has more value and does something a little bit more than like that scene we watched with the Deep.
Right.
I mean, 'cause he's got gills like around his abs and rib cage or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's getting off by fingering them, and it hurts him.
It's weird, dude. It's
But
weird.
she's getting off on it, and she like already knew that that's what she wanted to do going in.
Right.
And she's forcing him to do it. Her, as far as we know, a regular girl. Him being a superhero, formally committing sexual harassment.
Why is he taking it?
Why is he taking it? Yeah, he's sitting there taking
Is that like
the pain.
Is that to show like it comes back around or something? I
That
don't know.
that comes back around, yeah, and then like how how he's had a complete 180 in his life.
And then like the Starlight thing, like where she had sex with Huey, like. What does that I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, what does that
I think
add?
their sex scene. I mean, again, we don't necessarily have to watch it, but I think them having sex was important because a lot of stuff changed after they hooked up.
I guess, yeah.
Because she found out everything about him, and then he, in the eyes of his team, betrayed them.
Right.
So I mean, I feel like again those were more significant than the Deeps, but I guess maybe like we just talked about, the Deeps was done to show a 180 has happened to him, but it was very confusing and very off-putting because I mean she's fingering herself while fingering his gills, and that hurts him. She wanted to do that. He doesn't stop her. And it's like, okay, so does he... And then, obviously, it's a really weird scene, so they're not going to show it for more than the time that they did. But it's like, now I want to know what happened. Did she finish? Like, what happened? Did she finish and go, like, thanks, Waterboy, and, like, just dip?
Left.
Like, what? I don't understand that.
I just think it's really funny. They put the water guy in Ohio, of all places, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or like Nebraska or something. That doesn't make any sense. Something with, like, no water.
He's got the lakes, I think.
Oh, he does, but it's still like, why not put him, I don't know, just somewhere on the coast or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But I guess the water parks and the lakes will have to do. And I guess because it's so neutral there. It's so safe. I mean,
Yeah.
he's literally in a place with no crime. I guess they did that
That's
so he can't mess anything up. I don't know.
That's ridiculous that they just threw him under the bus like that quickly.
Yeah. And he's putting up with it. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to him. I don't know if we're going to see more of him, if he's somehow going to come back to the Seven. Even though he hasn't done anything, I want to learn more about Black Noir.
Yeah,
and,
that
like,
guy's funny.
his
Or he's used
backstory
funny, I
or,
guess.
like,
he's just
yeah.
there, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's
like you almost forget he's there, and then Homelander's like, except for you, Noir, you're doing a great job.
What's
now the
the
rest of you
superpower?
guys, I think he's just like Batman.
Okay.
I think he's like Batman, but like,
Right.
I guess a little stronger.
Yeah.
Because well, I guess he can heal too, because he got messed up by that one Kimiko chick or whatever, and he killed her, and she looked pretty strong.
Okay.
So he was able to fight her off. I guess, what did we get with, Kimiko either, I guess we figured out where she's from, and she's a little bit better off now, and
Yeah.
they saved her again, and, I don't know. That was a weird turn in the story too, honestly. That was weird that they went after her. All the violence in the show was awesome though. Like all the action, pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I can't really say anything about the action. It was all great.
Yeah, it was great.
It wasn't like a bunch of takes, it felt like, and the speed looked really cool. The laser eyes looked really sick.
Yeah.
The bullets like bouncing off people, really sick. Starlight's power looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Looks pretty good to me.
It does look good, and I guess I find it interesting that they're all given the same compound, but they all get different powers.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
They all develop differently, and it does seem like there's...
They'll probably do something with like DNA and be like, that's why, it ties your DNA in a different way or something.
Right. And it's like, okay, and then I guess Compound V over time kills you, so it's like, does Homelander like microdose Compound V? Has he not had any since the lab? Because obviously we've just seen A-Train have a heart attack and possibly be dead or not dead.
Well, Starlight's never had any, and she's fine.
Never had any since initially.
Birth, yeah.
Yes, that's true.
That was messed up too. I can't. I guess I can believe it.
Well, you said, why does she care so much? That was something that you said.
I don't know. Like, what is? I guess I understood a little bit where I was like, yeah, it kind of sucks. Your mom like ruined your life in a certain way, but also she gave you like superpowers and was gonna make you famous and rich.
Right.
And I guess.
But it was all a lie.
It was a lie, but I think the life sucked more than you would think, and that's why she was mad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that. I mean, when you say that on paper, you're gonna have superpowers, you're gonna be rich, you're gonna be famous, everyone's gonna love you.
Right.
Why would you not want that? But then you go up there and she has to, blow a guy on the first day and say all these stupid things and can't save people and let people die on an airplane and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's what was given to her, I guess. I guess she didn't have the choice. But my initial thought was like, why do you want the choice? Like, you got superpowers and then you're gonna get rich.
Right. But I guess, yeah, no control over her own life, because she was already pissed at her mom because she felt her mom was using her at the Ezekiel event.
Yeah.
And then she
didn't really care for that episode. Not gonna lie.
Really?
It was a little too heavy-handed on the religious stuff.
Yeah, but that was, I think, maybe the point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it or anything. It's just there were parts where I was like, man, this is really weird. Just feels like it's a really weird religious episode. But her speech was great. Homelander again was great when he was, dunking him or whatever, and him blackmailing Ezekiel and all the stuff they found out. Basically, I thought that was good, and I liked how he had the response of, "Yeah, my girlfriend died 2 weeks ago or whatever." That was a great response to why are you being so weird and why do you want to use me and stuff like that.
Right. But
because I hate we always talk about, we hated movies where it's that you can easily explain your way out of this situation if you just say the obvious thing.
Yeah.
And that was the obvious thing to say.
Okay.
Huey grew on me too as we watched it, I think. I
Yeah.
think I didn't like him at first, and he was pretty good by the end of it.
Yeah. I think I liked him more early than I did as the show went on, just because I feel like as it went on,
Really?
they had so many storylines and so many characters that he felt less there.
Important, yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing, back to the religion, so she was already mad at her mom for her mom basically using her at the Ezekiel event.
Mhm.
And so she's mad at her for that. She's like, well, she's just taking advantage of my powers and making me use them in an environment I'm just not really comfortable in. And
Well,
this
she
is,
says, you can't do this. I told all my friends to watch it.
right. And this environment isn't what I thought it would be. Yeah, you're making me do it for your friends. And then come to find out, she didn't even get those powers from God. Her mom made her have those powers. So it's her mom's been using her since the very beginning. Not even since her powers made her into the Seven. She just, I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
an extreme form of dress up to where you have just no control.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. I'm man, that kind of sucks. But at the same time, I'm just it really could be worse. You know what I mean?
I think they do this. I think there's a show or a movie that does it, but it's me being a super famous comedian, something I want to do. I like comedy. I like making people laugh. And then come to find out, everyone was just paid to laugh. No one was actually laughing at my jokes. It was all a fake. And then that would crush me because it's my whole life, here I am trying to be this comedian. I finally become a successful comedian. And it turns out they're not really laughing. It was all planted. They were paid to laugh, or I was injected with a serum that made me funny. I wasn't actually funny or something. Just something like that. Just the whole thing.
But would you really care if you were injected with a serum that made you funny and you made all this money from it and everybody loved you?
Again, that's probably not the best example, but it's just finding out that the whole thing's a lie.
Yeah. I kind of I just teeter on it because I understand why she'd be upset. I understand the lack of control.
So you would be okay with it?
I don't know, man. And on the realm of your parents screwing you over,
that's about as good as it gets.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of yeah.
Right. Because she could always just kill her mom.
There's that. I really thought she was at one point, honestly.
I thought she was, too.
I thought she was going to lose it. I thought she was going to, honestly, maybe kill Huey at one point, too.
Yeah. That would have been hot.
Or
because they should be single.
Or kill Bill. Yeah, that would be hotter, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really, I don't know, there was another thing. I didn't understand why, I guess they're having an image they really want to project or whatever, but it's 2019. Do you really think they'd have that big of a problem with Maeve having a girlfriend?
Yeah, I found that stuff kind of weird.
But I guess that's not ideal. You know what I mean?
And the fact that I guess Homelander doesn't have a triangle anymore since Stillwell's dead. But the fact that basically Maeve or Stillwell could at any point like grab his wiener, and he pretty much did whatever they wanted.
The dude is messed up in the head. Like he's clearly just completely insane.
Yeah, he's very kind of just an egomaniac, really. And then there was something about Huey. But
his face, you know, like his face. How do you feel about his face?
It was decent. Grew on me at first. I was like, this guy's face. He's like a great value, whatever.
Great value. Oh, come on.
Somebody.
Great value. Super bad. Not
great. Oh yeah, great value. Michael
Sarah.
There we go. Yeah. Great value, Michael Sarah. With slightly better physique, but yeah. The fact that Simon Cowell's his dad, not Simon Cowell.
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg, yeah. Simon Pegg's his dad. I thought that was an interesting catchphrase because he's barely used.
Yeah, kind of.
And he's a pretty shitty dad. And then also Huey quit his job, and so how do them or any of the boys pay for food? Like, how do they get anything done?
I don't know where that money was coming from.
Yeah, where's the... I mean, I understand if you already have supplies and you have crappy warehouses and you're just hanging out in abandoned buildings and vans, but it's like, you guys got to eat at some point, and, like, I just don't see any income, so where are all these meals coming from?
Yeah. Honestly, you know another thing I noticed? Every episode began in a pretty cool way, honestly. It gets you excited, like, gets you engaged almost immediately.
You're right. Especially the episodes we watched tonight. I mean, all three of them, I was like, man, that's quite the opening.
Yeah, Homelander, they go to his house, or, they look at people's backstory, and it's all a fake. They're doing, like, the documentary style. And even the first episode where his girlfriend just dies, just gets run through, and he's just holding her arms. It's super brutal.
Yeah. I think A-Train's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely gone crazy, and I guess he is the example of superheroes aging. Like, I guess, obviously he keeps using Compound V to stay relevant, but if he weren't, it sounds like he would definitely be replaceable.
Yeah.
And that his powers aren't, I guess, infinite.
They don't, I guess because he's getting older, you're not as fast or whatever.
Right.
So he's getting a little bit slower, and he's the second or third fastest guy in the world.
Right.
And they would drop him for the fastest guy. I don't know. I think that's like wild that he would just be dropped that easily.
Exactly. It's like, is he not bringing other stuff to the table? Like, is his combat or something not as good? But also, like, does that not affect the other ones then? Like, what about Maeve and Homelander? Just all of them in general. What does age do to them?
Yeah, I guess Maeve has been doing it long enough to where Starlight read about her when she was a kid, so...
Right, so it's like, what's Maeve's limitations now?
I don't know. I don't understand. And she broke her arm, and like, what? I don't know. There's a lot of things. And, yeah, a lot of different things. It's wild. I don't know. I really enjoyed how they made everybody seem so good, and by the end of it, they look so bad. All of them look so messed up, so bad, I thought Homelander was going to be like the one that was good, and everybody else is going to be bad, and it's just, he's the worst one.
Yeah.
Apparently The Boys Season 2 is coming out this year, apparently. 2020.
That's hot.
That would be awesome, honestly, because I would watch the crap out of it.
Yeah. Okay, any more hot takes or thoughts on the show?
Man, I know I'm going to kick myself as soon as it's over. I'm going to have like a million things to say, but yeah, I don't know. It's a really great show. I can't believe I'm saying I wish there was more episodes, because I feel like that's usually not the case, but honestly, I could have done with a couple more episodes. Maybe.
Like a 10-episode season?
Yeah, I feel like some things could have been wrapped up a little bit better. Some things could have been paced a little bit more. But other than that, really, I thought the action was great. All the acting was phenomenal. The story wasn't super predictable. We were sitting here predicting things, and they never, it usually didn't happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else you can ask really for a show.
Not much. But it sounds
the concept is super awesome.
I think, the concept's great. I mean, it's definitely a world in which we have never seen superheroes in before.
Which is weird, because we've seen 1,000 superhero movies.
Yeah, I just feel like they've never been used this way, and at first I was like, man, this is like the most realistic use of superheroes ever since maybe The Dark Knight, because that's to me one of like the most realistic, or that series of Batman movies is the closest to realistic as a superhero movie's been, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I was like, this is like the most realistic. But then, I mean, obviously the show's pretty crazy, so I don't know if I can...
Superhero drugs and
Yeah.
kids having powers at birth, and all these people got powers. And
Right, but I guess, so I don't know how realistic it is, but at the same time, if
It's real.
superheroes did exist, I feel like these are real problems, real situations, real things that would happen.
they pay people off that had their significant others killed.
Yeah. Wait, what?
When they pay Huey off,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
It's all about the image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely see a company just taking over like the marketing. 'Cause, I mean, superheroes are already marketed a ton anyway. I mean, they're on household products, obviously the toys and the merchandising, but I mean, and they're just like, you can get a roll of paper towels and it'll randomly be sponsored by like Marvel, and it's like, they're on Coke bottles and Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
So it's like,
If they were real,
if
oh
they
my
were
God.
real, they would literally have agents.
And if there was one company that controlled them all.
Right. Yeah, they would have sponsorships and agents and things of that nature, and it'd be what it is in the show, and it'd be twice of what we have in our lives already. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting concept to have a whole show about it, and just the fact of how good Stillwell was at like navigating the space and like pretty much getting them in the military, obviously with the help of Homelander at the end, and I think it's super interesting how the military doesn't want them, and now they have to have them, and all the, I guess, realistic elements of that and how that's going down.
Yeah, I mean, she was so like boss at making moves that we swore she had powers because of how everyone was afraid of her.
Right.
Or it seemed like she had the most power and was feared by everyone.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. What would you give it? What would you give it?
Because I feel like you said you weren't going to give it Fuego.
I can't. I want to. But
Why
I can't
you?
Just too many little things. Like that religious episode was kind of weird, and just too many weird sex scenes that I just really didn't want to see, honestly. And then just the way things weren't. You don't have to wrap everything up because you're gonna have a season 2, but I just feel like some things weren't answered that I really wanted answered.
What were those things?
We talked about it. Why is Deep still being shown? What's the deal with Becca and this kid?
Yeah.
Where did Compound B come from? Why are we not talking about that more?
Yeah.
What are the
But all that stuff's coming.
I do know it's all coming. I do know it's all coming. But when I was watching that last episode, I was like, we're not going to get to all this stuff.
No.
We're not going to.
Definitely not. But I guess I appreciate that only for the fact that I like the show and I want them to have enough to work with to keep going.
To keep it going and keep it interesting.
Yeah, because there are some times where, maybe like Ballers, for example, where I feel like they've kind of like...
Yeah, honestly,
they wrap up.
That's a great show to bring up like that.
Yeah, like they wrapped up a bunch of storylines and then we start the next season and right away it just felt off. It felt like, okay,
there's no gas in this tank. Like,
right.
Where are we going?
Where are we going? Yeah. And then I was going to use Ozark as an example to where like sometimes they leave you with like a cliffhanger and I'm like, okay, well, they're going to address this or that next season. I just have to wait, and then like it never happens. That still pissed me off about that show. But granted, it was a minor thing. There might have been other things, but there was like a relationship between two characters, and like out of nowhere, those two characters have no relationship between. Like they had a relationship in season 2, and then season 3, they don't have a scene together. They don't talk to each other on the phone.
The entire season.
The entire season. The entire season. Like they have nothing. Like they're not on the same room. They don't text. They don't talk. Like they don't even. It's like neither one of them exists to each other anymore. They don't even mention each other's names to other people in the show. Like it never comes up. They're never like, oh, how's that person doing? Or, oh, don't bring that girl up. Or I haven't heard her name. Like nothing. It's like it never. Like they were never friends, and that drives me nuts. So maybe I'm hoping The Boys doesn't do that. I hope they don't come back second season and leave something like this unanswered. Like maybe something with Matt, like some of the stuff with Madeline, I could see them maybe like leaving some of that unanswered. And
Why do they lie about it? All the stuff like that. How long do they know
yeah,
about the secret kid or whatever? So what do you give it?
I want to give it a fuego. Now, granted, I don't watch that many TV shows.
I think it's the best superhero show I've seen.
Right. I think that's maybe the reason why I like it so much is because even though I really haven't watched the shows, it's not fair to me to have an opinion. Anytime I've seen a superhero show on, I've just never been intrigued. Like, it doesn't look good. It doesn't grab my attention. It looks very boring.
It's too slow, or the action just doesn't look right,
Exactly.
in my opinion.
And to me, this show had great
Both, did both.
storyline, great action. Yeah, so I don't know. This show kept my attention. I didn't know where it was going, and it's not like. And granted, it might have elements of stuff I've seen before, but it's not like any other show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of shows out there like it. You know what I mean? Like Ozark and Sopranos and The Wire and Breaking Bad. I mean, there's a million crime shows. There's a million shows that are similar to each other. There's a million sitcoms, but like there's very few shows like this. Now, granted, this show isn't particularly funny.
No.
Not that it has to be. I guess Carl Urban's kind of the comic relief.
Yeah.
But I mean, this show really does kind of have a touch of everything, though.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of big budget miniseries shows that are about these kinds of things, because there was like Game of Thrones, but that's like medieval, and there's Mad Men, but that's in the 50s, and it's it's just it's a very weird mix that I don't think is really used that much.
Right. So I want to give it a fuego for its uniqueness, for the fact that it kept my attention. And honestly, if I had unlimited time, I could have probably binge watched the show in a day or two if I had the time to do so. But I don't like hour-long shows, but it's just something you got to deal with.
All
So
right,
I give it a fuego.
Nice.
No final thoughts?
Can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, can't wait for season 2 either.
Might read the comic, honestly.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Or do you know, I guess, where to find it? You just gonna Amazon it or something, or
Yeah, I'll just figure it out. I'm sure it's
probably readily available on Kindle since it's an Amazon show.
either on Kindle or it's on one of the apps. I'm sure there's an app for it.
I actually have a subscription to Kindle, so I'll just look it up once we get off air here. But yeah, looking forward to The Boys season 2. Be on the lookout for more episodes. Reagan and I are going to consume content and then create content about the content we've consumed. For Reagan, I'm Ryan. You have a great night.